Simone Rodriguez sat in her rental car across the street from what used to be her house, watching the scene unfold with the detached interest of someone watching a movie. The black SUV pulled into the driveway at exactly 4:47 p.m., just as she knew it would. Trevor had texted her the flight details weeks ago, before she stopped responding to his messages, before she changed her number, before she sold everything they owned together and disappeared. The driver's side door opened first, and her husband of 8 years stepped out, stretching in the afternoon sun like a man without a care in the world. He looked tanned, relaxed, and happy. That was the first punch to her gut, even though she had prepared herself for this moment. The second punch came when the passenger door opened. The woman was younger than Simone by at least 10 years. Blonde hair, tight jeans, crop top that showed off a flat stomach. She bounded around the SUV and jumped into Trevor's arms, wrapping her legs around his waist while he spun her in a circle. They kissed deeply right there in the driveway with no concern for neighbors or propriety. Of course they didn't care. Trevor thought no one here knew about her. He thought his secret was safe. Simone pulled out her phone and took 3 photos. Not for evidence, she had plenty of that. Just for herself. To remember this moment. To remember why she did what she did. Trevor grabbed 2 suitcases from the back while the woman, Amber was her name, carried a shopping bag and a purse. They walked toward the front door, still laughing, still touching, still completely unaware. Trevor reached for his keys, but before he could insert them into the lock, the door swung open. A middle-aged white man stood in the doorway, his face confused and slightly annoyed. "Can I help you?" Simone watched Trevor's smile freeze. Watched confusion replace his confident swagger. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Trevor said, his voice carrying across the quiet suburban street. "I'm Robert Chin. I own this house." "Who are you?" "You own?" "No, there's been a mistake. This is my house. My wife and I bought this house 5 years ago." "Your wife?" The man looked past Trevor at Amber, who had taken a step back. "Are you Simone Rodriguez?" "No, I'm." "Who's Simone?" Amber's voice went shrill. Robert pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police. I bought this house 3 weeks ago from Simone Rodriguez. The sale was completely legal. I have all the paperwork." Simone watched Trevor's face go pale. Watched him pull out his own phone, frantically trying to call her. The phone rang once and went to a message that her voicemail was full. He tried again. Same result. She had blocked his number 2 weeks ago, but she had set it to ring once so he would think it was just going to voicemail. "This is impossible," Trevor said, his voice rising. "My wife can't sell our house without my permission." "Actually, she can," Robert said, and now there was a hint of satisfaction in his voice. He had clearly been briefed on this situation. She had power of attorney. Everything was legal. "Now please leave my property or I will have you arrested for trespassing." A police car pulled up to the curb. Simone had called them 15 minutes ago, anonymously reporting a disturbance at this address. Perfect timing. Trevor turned to Amber, who was already backing away toward the SUV. "This is a mistake, baby. Just a misunderstanding. My wife is confused. I'll fix this." "Your wife?" Amber's voice could have cut glass. "You said you were separated. You said you were getting divorced." "I am. We are. This is just her being vindictive. She's probably upset I moved on." "Moved on? You've been living with me for 6 months. You told me you lived in an apartment." The police officers approached, and Simone decided she had seen enough. She started her car and pulled away from the curb slowly, carefully, like a woman with nothing to hide and nowhere urgent to be. In her rearview mirror, she saw Trevor notice her car. Saw him start running toward her. But she was already gone, turning the corner, disappearing into her new life while his old one crumbled behind her. She had sold the house for $320,000. Emptied their joint savings of $90,000. Transferred her retirement accounts. Sold his classic car collection for another $40,000. Canceled the joint credit cards after maxing them out on business expenses. All of it legal. All of it documented. All of it justified. Trevor had spent 6 months in Thailand with his girlfriend, spending their money, living a fantasy life, while telling Simone he was on an extended boys' trip with college friends. He had video called her twice a week from hotel rooms, spinning lies about temples and beaches and bonding with the guys. Meanwhile, his social media posts showed the truth. He had just been stupid enough to post them on a private Instagram account he thought she didn't know about. She knew everything. The private investigator she hired had given her a full report. Trevor and Amber had met on a dating app 8 months ago. They had been planning this trip for 6 months. He told Amber he was separated and getting divorced. Told her he lived in a small apartment and was rebuilding his life. Meanwhile, he was still sleeping in bed next to Simone every night until the day he left for his trip. The lies were so massive, so elaborate, that Simone almost admired the effort. Almost. Her phone buzzed. A text from her lawyer. Everything went as planned? Perfect, she typed back. He just found out. Good. He'll probably try to contact you through me next. I'll forward the divorce papers. Simone drove to her new apartment in the downtown area, 15 miles from the suburban house where she had wasted 8 years of her life. The apartment was small but modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. It was hers alone. No shared decisions. No compromises. No lies. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on her balcony, watching the sun set over the city. Her phone buzzed again. Trevor had found her email somehow. The message was exactly what she expected. What did you do? Call me now. This is insane. You can't just sell our house. I'm calling my lawyer. You're going to regret this. She deleted it without responding. He would send 50 more just like it. They didn't matter. What mattered was that she had won the first battle. He came home expecting to have his cake and eat it too. Expected to keep living his double life, maybe transition slowly from wife to girlfriend, keep all the assets and comfort while upgrading to a newer model. Instead, he had nothing. No house. No savings. No wife. And soon, no girlfriend either, because Amber had just learned that her boyfriend of 6 months was actually a married man who had been lying about everything. Simone's revenge wasn't violent. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply the complete dismantling of the life Trevor thought he could come home to. And this was only day one. 6 months earlier, Simone had been making breakfast when Trevor came downstairs with his laptop, a strange expression on his face. She remembers this moment perfectly now, like a photograph she can examine in detail. The way he hesitated at the bottom of the stairs. The way he cleared his throat twice before speaking. So, I have something I want to run by you, he said, pouring himself coffee. Simone was flipping pancakes, a Sunday morning ritual they had maintained throughout their marriage. What's up? You remember my college buddies? Jason and Terrell? Sure. She didn't really, but she nodded anyway. Trevor had a whole network of friends she had never met. Guys from college, from his first job, from his gym. She had stopped trying to keep track years ago. Well, we've been talking and we want to do a guy's trip. A real one. Like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Okay. Simone plated the pancakes and brought them to the table. Where? Thailand. He said it quickly, watching her face. I know it's far. But the flights are cheap right now and we found an amazing deal on accommodations. It would be 6 months. Simone set down her fork. 6 months? I know it sounds long. But think about it. How often do we get a chance to really travel? To have an adventure? I'm 42 years old. If I don't do this now, I never will. What about your job? I have the vacation time saved up. And I talked to my boss. He's cool with it. Says I've been working too hard anyway, could use a break. Something felt wrong. Simone couldn't identify what exactly, but there was a sensation in her stomach like swallowing something sharp. 6 months in Thailand. With Jason and Terrell. And a few other guys. Maybe 5 or 6 of us total. We'd move around, see different cities. Really immerse ourselves in the culture. And I'm supposed to just stay here alone for 6 months? Trevor reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm, familiar. She had held this hand for 8 years. I know it's a lot to ask, but you could visit. We'd video chat every day. And think about it, babe. When I get back, I'll be refreshed. Ready to focus on us. Maybe we finally start trying for that baby you want. The baby comment was manipulative and Simone knew it even then. They had been talking about children for 3 years. Trevor always had a reason to wait. Too much work stress. Not enough savings. Let's just enjoy being married for a while longer. Now he was dangling it like a carrot. 6 months of freedom for him, and then maybe he would give her what she wanted. She should have said no right then. Should have recognized the absurdity of the request. What kind of man leaves his wife for 6 months to vacation with friends? What kind of marriage survives that? But Simone had spent 8 years being the understanding wife. The supportive partner. The woman who didn't make waves. So she swallowed her concerns and said, okay. If this is important to you, then go. Trevor's face lit up. Really? You're serious? Yes. Go have your adventure. He came around the table and hugged her so hard she could barely breathe. You're amazing. I love you so much. This is going to be great for us, I promise. 2 weeks later, he was on a plane. Simone drove him to the airport at 5 in the morning, still half asleep. Trevor was buzzing with excitement, checking his phone constantly, fidgeting with his luggage. At the departure gate, he kissed her goodbye with what seemed like genuine affection. "I'll call you when I land," he promised, "and we'll video chat every night." Every night might be hard with the time difference. "Okay, every few days then. But I'll text you all the time. Keep you updated on everything." He didn't. The texts were sparse and impersonal. "Just landed. Jet lagged. Checked into the hotel. It's nice. Going to explore the city today." No details. No personality. Like he was checking items off a list. The video calls were worse. They happened twice a week, always from hotel rooms that looked identical. Beige walls, generic artwork, a bed in the background. Trevor would be showered and dressed, smiling at the camera, telling her about temples and markets and amazing food. But something was off. His stories didn't have weight. He would describe an incredible day of sightseeing but couldn't remember specific details when she asked questions. "How was the Grand Palace?" she asked during one call. "Amazing. So much gold. Really incredible architecture." "What was your favorite part?" Probably the main temple area. Just really impressive." It was the answer of someone who had looked at pictures online, not someone who had actually been there. The breaking point came 3 months in. Trevor called on a Tuesday evening, her Wednesday morning. He was cheerful, maybe too cheerful, talking about plans to visit a beach town in the south. Mid-sentence, Simone heard a woman's voice in the background. "Baby, did you want coffee?" Trevor's face froze for half a second. "Hold on," he said, then the camera went black. She could still hear audio. "I'm on the phone. Can you just give me a minute?" "Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were talking to one of the guys." The camera came back on. Trevor was smiling, but his eyes were different. Harder. "Sorry, room service." "That was a woman," Simone said. "Yeah, the hotel staff here are mostly women. She was asking about towels." "She called you baby." "What?" "No, you misheard. The connection is bad sometimes." "Trevor, I heard her clearly." "Look, I don't know what you think you heard, but you're being paranoid. I'm here with the guys. We're having a good time. That's it." They argued for 10 more minutes before Trevor claimed the Wi-Fi was cutting out and ended the call. Simone sat in her empty house, her heart pounding, knowing with absolute certainty that her husband was lying to her. She hired the private investigator the next day. His name was Dennis, a retired police officer who specialized in infidelity cases. He had kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "I'm going to be honest with you, Mrs. Rodriguez. If your husband is cheating, I'll find proof. But sometimes people don't want to know the truth. Are you sure you're ready for whatever I find?" "I'm ready," Simone said. It took Dennis 2 weeks. He found Trevor's private Instagram account, which had been active for 8 months. The post showed everything. Trevor and Amber at restaurants. Trevor and Amber on beaches. Trevor and Amber in bed together, his arm around her shoulders, both of them smiling at the camera. The captions were love notes. "Best 6 months of my life. Can't believe I found you. This is just the beginning." There were no friends. No Jason or Terrell. No guy's trip. Just Trevor and his girlfriend, living in a rented apartment in Bangkok, playing house while Simone paid the mortgage on their real house back home. Dennis compiled everything into a folder. Social media posts. Credit card statements showing purchases for 2. Hotel bookings under Trevor's name with Amber listed as a guest. Even a lease agreement for their apartment, signed 3 months ago. "I'm sorry," Dennis said, handing over the folder. "But you have everything you need for a divorce. He won't be able to deny any of this." Simone took the folder home and didn't open it for 2 days. She already knew what was in it. Opening it would make it real. Make it undeniable. Make it something she had to act on. When she finally looked through the evidence, she didn't cry. She had done enough crying during those 3 months of sporadic phone calls and growing suspicion. Instead, she felt something cold and clear settle in her chest. Trevor had made a choice. He had chosen to lie, to cheat, to abandon their marriage while pretending everything was fine. Now she would make her own choices. She called a divorce lawyer first, then a real estate agent, then an accountant. Within a week, she had a plan. It wasn't about hurting Trevor. It was about protecting herself and taking back what was hers. He wanted his freedom? She would give it to him. But it would cost him everything. The house went on the market 2 weeks later. Simone had found the power of attorney paperwork they had both signed 5 years ago when buying the house. It was a standard document that allowed either of them to make decisions about the property if the other was incapacitated or unavailable. She had forgotten about it. Trevor had definitely forgotten about it. Her lawyer confirmed it was valid. You can sell the house without his signature as long as you're not trying to defraud him. Since you're planning to file for divorce and this is marital property, you're entitled to your half. What you do with your half is your business. Simone sold the house for fair market value. Put her half in a new account. Invested Trevor's half in a business venture she had been planning for years. Emptied the joint savings. Transferred everything that was legally hers. Slowly, methodically, she dismantled the financial foundation of their marriage while Trevor lounged on beaches halfway across the world, thinking his secret was safe. When the house sold and the new owners moved in, Simone rented her downtown apartment and disappeared. She changed her phone number, closed her social media accounts, told her friends and family that she needed space to process the separation. She didn't tell them the whole truth yet. That would come later. For 3 weeks she was a ghost. And Trevor had no idea his life was about to implode. The private investigator's report sat on Simone's coffee table like a bomb waiting to explode. It was a navy blue folder, maybe 2 inches thick, full of printed screenshots, financial records, and a detailed timeline of Trevor's lies. Dennis had been thorough. Almost too thorough. Reading through it felt like watching her marriage die in slow motion. Simone poured herself a glass of wine and opened to the first page. Subject: Trevor Rodriguez. Investigation period: 3 weeks. Summary: subject is cohabiting with Amber Mitchell, age 29, in a rented apartment in Bangkok, Thailand. The next pages showed the private Instagram account. Trevor had created it 8 months ago, right around the time he started planning his boys' trip. The username was @Trevor__chapter, which should have been her first clue if she had known about it. New chapter. Like he was writing off their marriage as an old book he was done reading. The earliest post was a photo of Amber at a bar, probably the one where she worked as a bartender. The caption read, "Met someone special tonight. Sometimes life surprises you." That was 8 months ago, 2 months before Trevor came to her with his Thailand proposal. He had already met Amber. Already started something with her. The Thailand trip was never about friends or adventure. It was about moving his girlfriend overseas where Simone wouldn't accidentally run into them. The posts continued chronologically. Dinner dates. Movies. Long walks on beaches that weren't in Thailand yet because this was still the planning phase. Trevor had been living a double life for 2 months, coming home to Simone every night while building a relationship with Amber during lunch breaks and late work nights that he claimed were meetings. One post from 5 months ago showed Trevor and Amber in bed together, early morning sunlight coming through the window. The caption: "Waking up next to you is the best part of my day. Counting down until we can do this every day." Simone remembered that week. Trevor had told her he was going to a work conference in Las Vegas. 3 days. He had called her every night from his hotel room. Except it wasn't a hotel room. It was Amber's apartment. The background in one of the Instagram photos matched the background in their video calls. She refilled her wine glass and kept reading. Dennis had tracked their flights. Trevor and Amber flew to Thailand together, sitting next to each other in economy. He had charged both tickets to a credit card Simone didn't know about, one he must have opened specifically for this affair. The credit card statements showed a pattern of deception. Jewelry purchases, romantic restaurants, hotel rooms, all charged to this secret card, all hidden from the joint finances he shared with Simone. The apartment lease in Bangkok was in both their names. Trevor and Amber had signed a 6-month lease with the option to extend. The rental agent had sent cheerful emails to Trevor's personal email address, welcoming them both and offering recommendations for expat couples. Expat couples. He was introducing Amber as his partner. Not his girlfriend, not his mistress, but his partner. As if Simone didn't exist. The timeline Dennis created was devastating in its detail. Every day for the past 3 months, showing where Trevor had been and what he had posted. Beach days, temple visits, cooking classes. He was living the romantic adventure Simone had always wanted them to take together. She had begged him for years to travel with her. Just a week in Europe, she had said. A long weekend in Mexico. But Trevor always claimed he didn't have the time, didn't have the vacation days, didn't want to spend the money. Turns out he did want to travel. Just not with her. The social media posts told another story too. Amber didn't know Trevor was married. Her own Instagram account, which Dennis had also pulled, showed a woman who genuinely believed she was in a committed relationship with a single man. Her captions referenced Trevor's difficult divorce, his small apartment, his fresh start. She posted supportive messages about being there for him during hard times. She truly thought she was helping him rebuild his life after a marriage ended. Trevor had lied to both of them. Different lies, but both designed to get what he wanted. He told Simone he needed a boys' trip, that he would come back refreshed and ready to start a family. He told Amber he was separated and getting divorced, that she was helping him heal. In reality, he was using them both, keeping Simone as his stable home base while playing out a fantasy life with Amber. Dennis had included a note at the end of the report. In my professional opinion, Mr. Rodriguez is conducting what we call a soft exit. He's building a new life with Ms. Mitchell while maintaining his old life with you as a safety net. When he returns from Thailand, he'll likely file for divorce or ask for separation, claiming he found himself during his trip. This way he gets to keep the moral high ground of being the one who grew apart, rather than the one who cheated. It's common among cheaters who want to control the narrative. Simone read that paragraph 3 times. Trevor wasn't even planning to be honest about the affair. He was going to come home, ask for a divorce, and probably make it seem like it was a mutual decision or like Simone had failed him somehow. He would ride off into the sunset with Amber while Simone was left confused and heartbroken, wondering what she did wrong. The audacity of it made her laugh. A sharp, bitter sound in the silent apartment. She opened her laptop and looked at Trevor's private Instagram again. He had posted an hour ago. A sunset photo with Amber silhouetted against the orange sky. The caption, 3 more months here, then starting our real life together. Can't wait, baby. 3 more months. That lined up with his return date. He was counting down to his real life with Amber while still sending Simone brief, impersonal texts pretending he was with friends. Simone clicked through to Amber's profile. She was pretty in a generic way. Blonde highlights, nice smile, yoga poses on the beach. Her bio said living my best life, with a heart emoji. Her feed was full of inspirational quotes and travel photos. She seemed nice actually. Not the evil other woman from movies. Just a regular person who had fallen for a liar's story. For a moment, Simone almost felt sorry for her. Almost wanted to reach out and warn her that Trevor wasn't who he claimed to be. But no. Amber had made her own choices. She had chosen to date a man who claimed to be separated without ever asking for proof. She had chosen to move across the world with someone she barely knew. Those consequences were hers to face. Simone closed the laptop and looked at her to-do list. It was time to move from investigation to action. She had given herself 1 week to feel the hurt, to process the betrayal, to sit with the reality of her failed marriage. That week was over. Now it was time to be strategic. She called her lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chin who specialized in asset protection during divorce. I have the evidence. He's been living with another woman for 3 months, using marital funds to pay for it. Good, Patricia said. That strengthens your position. Have you thought about what you want from this divorce? Everything I'm entitled to. I want the house sold before he gets back. I want our savings divided and my half protected. I want his retirement contributions during our marriage. And I want him to know that I knew the whole time he was lying. The last part isn't legal advice, but I support it emotionally, Patricia said. Let's start with the house. You have power of attorney? Yes. We both signed it when we bought the property. Perfect. We can move forward with a sale. I'll need a few days to review the documents, but if everything is in order, you can list it immediately. Just make sure you keep detailed records of where every dollar goes. The court will want to see that you didn't try to hide or spend money out of spite. I'm not spending it. I'm investing it. Even better. What kind of investment? A property management business. I've been planning it for years, but Trevor always said it was too risky. Now I'm doing it anyway. Patricia laughed. I love it. Build your empire while he's playing house in Thailand. Just make sure you can document that you're investing marital assets in a legitimate business, not hiding them. The court looks favorably on entrepreneurship during divorce proceedings. They spend an hour going over the details. How to value the house. How to split retirement accounts. How to document Trevor's spending on the affair as dissipation of marital assets, which might entitle her to a larger share of remaining funds. Patricia was efficient and ruthless in the best way. She didn't try to talk Simone into couples counseling or reconciliation. She simply said, let's protect you and make sure you come out of this stable. After the call, Simone contacted a real estate agent. The housing market was good. Their house was in a desirable neighborhood with good schools. It would sell quickly, probably within 2 weeks of listing. She scheduled a walkthrough for the next day. That night, she drafted an email to Trevor's boss. She didn't send it yet, but she wrote it anyway. A detailed message explaining that Trevor was not on a sanctioned leave for a boys' trip, but was living with his girlfriend in Thailand while lying about his whereabouts. She included screenshots from his Instagram. She didn't know if she would actually send it. Maybe that was a step too far. But she wanted to have it ready, just in case Trevor tried to paint himself as the victim when everything came out. Before bed, Simone looked at the evidence folder one more time. The photo of Trevor and Amber in bed together, both smiling at the camera. The photo of them cooking dinner together in their Bangkok apartment. The photo of them on a boat, arms around each other, looking like any normal couple in love. She wasn't jealous. She was past that. What she felt was a cold determination. Trevor had made a choice to deceive her. To waste years of her life. To plan a future that didn't include her while still pretending they had a marriage worth saving. Now she would make her own choices. And unlike Trevor, her choices were based on truth, not lies. The real estate agent's name was Gloria, and she walked through the house with the practiced eye of someone who had seen hundreds of similar homes. "Good bones," she said, running her hand along the kitchen counter. "The updates you've made really show. New appliances, refinished floors, the bathroom renovation. This will sell quickly." Simone followed her through each room, seeing the house with new eyes. It wasn't really home anymore. It was just a building full of memories she wanted to forget. The living room where she and Trevor used to watch movies on Friday nights. The bedroom where they slept side by side for 8 years. The spare room that was supposed to become a nursery someday. All of it tainted now by the knowledge that Trevor had been planning his escape the whole time. "How quickly do you need to sell?" Gloria asked. "Fast. Within 2 weeks if possible." "That's aggressive but doable. The market is strong right now. I'd recommend listing slightly below market value to generate multiple offers, then letting them bid against each other. You'll probably end up at or above asking anyway. Do it." "Okay. I'll need both you and your husband's signatures on the listing agreement." "I have power of attorney. Will that work?" Gloria paused. "Yes, but it's unusual. Is your husband unable to sign?" "He's traveling. Out of the country for several months. We agreed I would handle the sale." It wasn't exactly a lie. They had agreed on power of attorney, even if Trevor didn't know she would use it to sell their house without telling him. Gloria seemed satisfied with the explanation and didn't push further. They scheduled professional photos for the next day and planned to list by the end of the week. After Gloria left, Simone started packing. Not everything, just the things that mattered. Her clothes, her books, her mother's jewelry, the few pieces of furniture that were hers before the marriage. She hired a moving company to take everything to her new apartment. The rest, the shared furniture and decorations, would stay for staging. Her lawyer had drawn up divorce papers, but Patricia advised waiting to file them. File too early and he might try to block the house sale or freeze assets. Wait until everything is moved and secured, then file. By the time he gets served, the damage is done. Simone followed the advice. She opened new bank accounts in her name only, transferred her half of their savings. Canceled joint credit cards after using them one last time to pay for her business startup costs. She consulted with an accountant about forming an LLC for her property management company. Every action was legal, documented, and designed to protect her future. The business idea had been percolating for years. Simone had a degree in business administration and had worked in property management before marriage. When she married Trevor, he convinced her to take a job at his company doing administrative work. It paid well and meant they could carpool together, he said. Be a team. But it also meant she gave up her career plans to support his. Now she was taking them back. She found 3 rental properties in transitional neighborhoods. Nothing fancy, but solid structures with good bones that needed minor updates. The sellers were motivated. She offered cash, using money from the house sale and their savings. 2 accepted immediately. The third needed more negotiation, but eventually came down to her price. Simone hired contractors to do quick updates. Paint, new fixtures, basic landscaping. Nothing major, just enough to make them attractive to renters. She listed them online and had applications within days. Young professionals looking for affordable housing in up-and-coming areas. She screened carefully, checked references, required first and last month's rent plus security deposits. Within 3 weeks of starting, she had 3 properties, 6 tenants, and positive monthly cash flow. It wasn't huge money yet, but it was hers. A foundation she could build on. The consulting business was slower to start but more personally satisfying. Simone created a website offering divorce planning services for women. Financial organization, asset protection, emotional support resources. She didn't advertise herself as a lawyer or therapist, just someone who had been through it and could help others navigate the process. Her first client came through a friend's referral. A woman named Tanya who had just discovered her husband's affair and didn't know where to start. Simone met her at a coffee shop and walked her through the basics. Document everything. Open separate accounts. Consult a lawyer. Don't move out of the house until advised to do so. Protect yourself first, feel your feelings later. Tanya cried through most of the meeting, but by the end she had a plan. She paid Simone $200 for 2 hours of consultation, which felt like both too much and not enough for what they had discussed. But it was a start. The house sold in 9 days. 3 offers, all above asking price. Simone accepted the highest one with the shortest closing timeline. The buyers were a young couple expecting their first baby, excited about the neighborhood schools and the big backyard. Simone felt a pang of sadness for the life she thought she would have. The baby who would never play in that yard. Then she pushed it aside. That life was Trevor's fantasy, not hers. She was building something real now. Closing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. Simone had everything timed perfectly. The new owners would take possession exactly 3 days before Trevor's scheduled return. He would come home to strangers living in his house with no warning and no explanation beyond a forwarding address for a lawyer's office. She knew he would be furious, would feel betrayed, which was almost funny given what he had done. But she also knew he had no legal standing to fight it. Everything she did was within her rights. The power of attorney was valid. The house was marital property she was entitled to sell. The money was going into legitimate investments in her personal account. Patricia had reviewed every step. He might try to claim you're hiding assets or acting out of spite, Patricia warned. But as long as you can document everything and show you're not trying to defraud him, you're fine. You're entitled to protect yourself during a separation. That's what this is. It's not a separation. It's a divorce. I just haven't filed yet. Exactly. Smart move. The week before closing, Simone allowed herself one moment of doubt. She sat in the empty house, boxes stacked in every room, her life reduced to cardboard and tape. Was she being too harsh? Should she have tried to talk to Trevor first, given him a chance to explain? But then she remembered the photos. Trevor and Amber in bed together. The captions about their real life, starting soon. The lies he had told her for months. The boys' trip that never existed. The friends who weren't there. The future he was planning without her while still sleeping next to her every night until he left. No, she wasn't being harsh. She was being smart. Trevor had made his choices. Now she was making hers. Closing day arrived. Simone signed the paperwork, transferred the deed, and watched $320,000 hit her new account. Her half went into savings. Trevor's half went into her business LLC. She would pay him back his share when they divorced, minus what he spent on Amber and the affair. Patricia assured her the court would see it as fair. That night, she changed her phone number. The only people who had the new one were her lawyer, her accountant, her mother, and a few close friends. Trevor was not on the list. If he wanted to reach her, he could go through Patricia. She posted one thing on social media before deactivating her accounts. A simple photo of a sunrise with the caption, "New Beginnings." Then she logged out for the last time. That part of her life was over. 3 days later, right on schedule, she drove to the old neighborhood and parked across the street from the house. She watched Trevor's SUV pull up at 4:47 p.m. Watched him get out with Amber. Watched them approach the front door with suitcases and smiles, completely unaware their fantasy was about to crash into reality. She watched Robert Chin open the door. Watched Trevor's face change from confusion to panic. Watched Amber take a step back as she realized the man she moved across the world for had lied about everything. Watched the police arrive. Watched Trevor try to run after her car as she drove away. And for the first time in 6 months, Simone smiled. Simone's new apartment became her command center. The small second bedroom, which she had initially thought would be storage space, transformed into an office. She bought a desk, a comfortable chair, and a large whiteboard for planning. On the whiteboard, she listed her goals. 3 properties by month 1. 5 properties by month 6. 10 by year end. Consulting business profitable within 3 months. She was ahead of schedule on the properties. 3 rentals were already generating income. The tenants were good, paying on time, taking care of the spaces. Simone created systems for everything. Automated rent collection. Regular inspection schedules. A list of reliable contractors for repairs. She treated it like a real business, not a hobby, which made all the difference. The consulting business grew more slowly but with more emotional reward. After Tanya, 3 more clients came through referrals. Women who had discovered affairs, women who were planning exits from bad marriages, women who needed someone to tell them they weren't crazy for wanting to protect themselves. Simone met each client in person, usually at a quiet coffee shop. She listened to their stories, made notes, gave practical advice. Document everything. Open separate accounts. Consult a lawyer before making big decisions. Protect yourself financially before protecting the relationship. Some women took her advice. Some went back to their husbands hoping things would change. Simone didn't judge either choice. She just provided information and let them decide. She charged on a sliding scale based on what clients could afford. Some paid $200 for a 2-hour session. Some paid $50. One woman could only afford $20, and Simone met with her anyway because the situation was desperate. The woman's husband had been draining their accounts to support a gambling habit, and she needed to know how to protect what little was left. Money wasn't the point of the consulting business. Not yet, anyway. The point was helping women avoid the shock and devastation she had felt. If she could give someone a roadmap for the worst days of their life, that was worth more than any fee. By the end of month 2, Simone had helped 12 women. 3 had left their marriages. 4 were still gathering information and planning. 5 had reconciled with their husbands after using her advice to set clear boundaries and expectations. All of them thanked her for not judging them, for giving them tools instead of opinions. The properties required more time and money but less emotional energy. Simone developed relationships with contractors who gave her fair prices. She learned to spot necessary repairs versus cosmetic issues. She negotiated with vendors, compared quotes, made decisions quickly. The work was satisfying in a different way than consulting. Something tangible. Something she could drive past and think, I built that. Her 4th property came from a foreclosure auction. A small duplex in a neighborhood that was just starting to turn around. Simone bid $3,000 over the minimum, won, and immediately put another $5,000 into updates. New roof, new water heater, fresh paint inside and out. She rented both units within a week of finishing the work. Property 5 was a triplex that needed more extensive repairs. The previous owner had let it deteriorate. Simone bought it cheap, put in $15,000 of work and turned it into 3 clean, safe, affordable apartments. The tenants she found were a single mother with 2 kids, an elderly man on Social Security, and a young couple saving for a house. She gave them all fair rent and good leases. In return, they took care of the property and paid on time. 3 months after Trevor's return, Simone's business was generating $5,000 a month in profit. Not enough to live on comfortably yet, but getting there. She still worked her administrative job at Trevor's company, though that was becoming complicated. Trevor had tried to contact her at work. Security stopped him at the front desk, but he left messages with the receptionist. Calls to her desk phone that she didn't answer. Emails to her work address that she deleted without reading. He was persistent, she would give him that. Her boss called her into his office 1 week after the house incident. His name was Gerald, and he had always been kind to Simone. I need to talk to you about something uncomfortable, he said. Trevor came by today. He's very upset. Says you sold your house without telling him. I did. It's complicated. He also says you're blocking his calls and refusing to communicate. That's true. Gerald sighed. Look, I'm not getting involved in whatever is happening between you two. But this is a workplace. If you need time off or if working here is going to be a problem, let me know. I'll do what I can to support you. Thank you. I'm actually planning to resign soon. I'm starting my own business. Really? What kind of business? Simone told him about the properties and the consulting. Gerald listened, nodded, seemed genuinely interested. That's impressive. You've done all this in 3 months. I've been planning it for years. Just finally had the push to actually do it. Well, if you need a reference or any help, let me know. And between you and me, I always thought you were too talented for administrative work. It was a kind thing to say. Simone left his office feeling lighter than she had in weeks. She gave her notice the next day. 2 weeks, professional and polite. On her last day, her co-workers threw a small goodbye party in the break room. Cake, cards, wishes for good luck. Several women pulled her aside to ask about her consulting business. Apparently word had spread. She gave them her card and told them to call if they needed anything. Trevor was not at the party. Simone learned later that he had taken extended leave. She wondered if he still had a job at all or if the months in Thailand had cost him more than just his marriage. With no day job, Simone dove fully into her business. She found properties 6 and 7 in the same week. Both needed work, both were in good locations. She was getting better at spotting opportunities, at knowing what to pay and what to walk away from. Her contractor team was solid now. They knew her standards and worked efficiently. The consulting business expanded in an unexpected direction. One of her clients was a lawyer who specialized in family law. She was impressed with Simone's knowledge and practical advice. Have you ever thought about doing this professionally? Like, getting certified as a divorce consultant or financial planner? I don't have the credentials. You could get them. There are programs. And honestly, you're already doing the work. You might as well get paid properly for it. Simone looked into certification programs. Found one that was self-paced and affordable. Started studying in the evenings after handling property management tasks during the day. The material was interesting. Some of it she already knew from experience. Some of it was new and useful. 4 months after Trevor's return, Simone's life looked completely different. She woke up in her own apartment, drank coffee on her own schedule, spent her days building something she was proud of. The properties were doing well. The consulting was growing. She had started the certification program and was already halfway through. She had also started dating, sort of. Nothing serious yet, just coffee meetings and casual dinners with men she met through friends or business connections. It felt strange at first, like she was betraying Trevor even though he had betrayed her first. But gradually the guilt faded. She wasn't married anymore, even if the divorce wasn't finalized yet. She was allowed to move forward. One of the men she dated was Jerome, an architect who had designed renovations for one of her properties. He was kind, funny, easy to talk to. They had dinner 3 times before he kissed her goodnight, a gentle kiss that didn't push for more. Simone liked that about him. He seemed comfortable taking things slow. Can I ask you something? Jerome said during their 4th date. You seem like you're in the middle of something big. A transition or something. Is this a good time for you to be dating? Probably not, Simone admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. Fair enough. I just want to make sure you're okay. You seem strong but also like you're carrying a lot. I'm carrying exactly as much as I can handle. Okay. But if that changes, tell me. I'm not going anywhere. It was the right thing to say. Simone relaxed into the relationship, letting it develop naturally without pressure or expectations. They saw each other once or twice a week. Sometimes for dinner, sometimes just for coffee. Jerome told her about his work, his family, his plans to start his own firm someday. Simone told him about her business, carefully leaving out most of the details about Trevor. He didn't need to know all that yet. Maybe eventually, but not now. 5 months after Trevor's return, Simone signed papers for property number 8. It was a small commercial space that she converted into 2 studio apartments. The location was perfect, right near the university, and she rented them to graduate students who needed quiet places to study and sleep. She also took on her 20th consulting client, a milestone that felt significant. 20 women she had helped navigate the worst moments of their lives. Not all of them had happy endings yet. Divorce was messy and painful no matter how prepared you were. But they all had tools now. Resources. Plans. That was something. Simone's phone rang late one evening. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Rodriguez? A woman's voice, hesitant and shaky. This is Simone. My name is Amber. I think we need to talk. Trevor Rodriguez sat in the passenger seat of Amber's car, staring at his phone like it might suddenly come back to life if he glared at it hard enough. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of disconnected numbers, full voicemails, blocked emails. 3 weeks of living in cheap hotels and borrowing money from friends. 3 weeks of trying to understand how his entire life had been dismantled while he was eating pad thai in Bangkok. Are you even listening? Amber's voice was sharp, angry. She had been angry for 3 weeks straight now. What? I said we need to figure out where we're sleeping tonight. This hotel costs $200 a night. We can't keep doing this. I know. I'm trying to fix it. How? By staring at your phone? Trevor, your wife sold your house. She emptied your bank accounts. She destroyed your credit. What exactly are you going to fix with an iPhone? Trevor didn't answer. He had been asking himself the same question for 3 weeks. The day they arrived back in the States played on repeat in his mind. Landing at the airport, excited to finally bring Amber to his hometown. She had been nervous about meeting his friends, worried about fitting into his life here. He had assured her everything would be perfect. They would stay at the house for a few days while he sorted out his things, then they would find an apartment together. Start fresh. Build their life. Instead, they had driven up to find strangers living in his house. Strangers who had legal ownership papers. Strangers who called the police when he tried to force his way in. The humiliation of standing on his own lawn while officers explained that he had no right to be there. That his wife had legally sold the property. that he needed to leave or he would be arrested. Amber had been silent during the drive away from the house. Trevor had tried to explain. It's a mistake. She's confused. I'll call her and sort it out. But Simone's phone went straight to voicemail. Her work email bounced back. Her social media was deactivated. She had vanished completely, leaving behind only a forwarding address for a lawyer's office. The lawyer, Patricia Chin, had been coldly professional when Trevor showed up at her office. Mrs. Rodriguez is filing for divorce. You'll be served with papers in the next few days. If you need to contact her, do it through me. She can't just sell our house without telling me. She had power of attorney. The sale was legal. But I didn't agree to it. You did, actually. When you signed the power of attorney agreement 5 years ago. Read the paperwork carefully next time. This is insane. Where's my money? Where are my things? Your personal belongings are in storage. Here's the address. As for marital assets, Mrs. Rodriguez has acted within her legal rights to protect herself during your separation. A full accounting will be provided during divorce proceedings. Separation? We weren't separated. Patricia had given him a look that could have frozen lava. Mr. Rodriguez, you spent 6 months in Thailand living with another woman while lying to your wife about your whereabouts. That's called abandonment in legal terms. Mrs. Rodriguez has every right to protect herself from further financial harm. I didn't abandon her. I was coming back. With your girlfriend. Yes, that really strengthens your position. Trevor had stormed out, but the lawyer's words followed him. Abandonment. He hadn't thought of it that way. He was on vacation, exploring his options, seeing if things with Amber could work long-term before making any big decisions. That wasn't abandonment. That was being smart. Being cautious. Except now he had no house, no money, and a girlfriend who was realizing just how badly he had lied to her. Amber had taken it worse than Trevor expected. The drive from the house to the hotel had been silent. Then, in their room she had exploded. You said you were separated. You said you lived in an apartment. I was going to separate. I just hadn't told her yet. You lived in a house together. You slept in the same bed with her the night before you left for Thailand. It was complicated. No, it's not complicated. It's lying. You lied to me. You lied to her. You're a liar. Amber had thrown her phone at him. Missed, but the gesture was clear. She had called a friend, sobbing, asking if she could stay there for a few days. The friend had said yes, and Amber had packed her bag that night. But she came back the next morning. Not because she forgave him, she made that clear. But because she had moved across the world for him. Quit her job. Given up her apartment. She literally had nowhere else to go. We're stuck together until I figure this out, she had said. But don't think for a second that I still want to be with you. So they were stuck. Living in hotels they couldn't afford, fighting constantly, while Trevor tried to piece together what Simone had done. The storage unit held his clothes, his tools, some personal items. Nothing valuable. Simone had been selective about what she saved. His golf clubs were there, but his laptop wasn't. His winter coat was there, but his tax documents weren't. She had given him enough to survive, but nothing he could easily sell or use to rebuild. The joint bank accounts were empty. His credit cards were maxed out and then canceled. His retirement account had been divided, with Simone taking her legal share plus a portion she claimed was owed for his dissipation of marital assets. His lawyer, a bored-looking man named Rick who charged $300 an hour, explained that dissipation meant spending marital money on an affair. She's claiming you spent about $30,000 on Amber. Hotels, flights, rent for the apartment in Bangkok. Do you have evidence that you didn't? I used a separate credit card. It wasn't marital money. Did you open that card while married? Yes, but... Then legally it's marital debt, which means she can claim you spent marital assets on the affair. The court will probably agree with her. You don't have a good position here, Trevor. That was Rick's favorite phrase. You don't have a good position. He said it about the house sale, the account divisions, the fact that Simone had documented everything while Trevor had documented nothing. He said it when Trevor asked about getting spousal support. He said it when Trevor wanted to fight the power of attorney as invalid. You're going to lose this divorce badly, Rick finally said. My advice? Settle fast before she thinks of other ways to protect her assets from you. Her assets. Those are my assets too. Not anymore, they're not. Trevor's job was another disaster. He had told his boss he needed extended leave for a family emergency. 6 months. Gerald had grudgingly approved it, but when Trevor came back and asked to return to work, Gerald had been cold. Actually, we need to talk. Several people have informed me that your family emergency was actually a personal vacation with a girlfriend. Is that true? Who told you that? Is it true? Trevor had tried to deny it, but Gerald pulled out printed screenshots from Instagram. Trevor's Instagram. His private account that he thought no one from work knew about. Photos of him and Amber in Thailand. Captions about their relationship. Evidence that he had lied about the entire leave. You falsified the reason for your leave. That's grounds for termination. You're fired, effective immediately. You can't fire me for taking a vacation. I can fire you for lying about why you needed leave. You claimed a family emergency. This was not that. Clear out your desk by the end of the day. So now Trevor was unemployed, broke, and sleeping in hotels he couldn't afford. Amber was barely speaking to him. His soon-to-be ex-wife had vanished. His lawyer said he didn't have a good position. And he still didn't fully understand how it had all gone so wrong. He had planned everything so carefully. 6 months in Thailand to test the relationship with Amber. If it worked, he would come home and ask Simone for a divorce, claiming they had grown apart. If it didn't work, he would come home and pretend the trip had given him perspective on how much he loved his wife. Either way, he kept his financial security, his house, his life. But Simone had figured it out. Somehow she had known. And instead of confronting him or begging him to stay, she had simply erased him from her life. Sold everything. Moved on. Left him with nothing but a storage unit of belongings and a divorce lawyer who kept saying he didn't have a good position. Trevor. Amber's voice snapped him back to the present. Are you listening to me? Sorry, what? I said I'm leaving. I called my sister in Ohio. She's wiring me money for a bus ticket. I'm going to stay with her until I figure out what to do next. You're leaving? Amber, we can fix this. Fix what? You're broke. You're unemployed. You lied to me about everything. Your wife destroyed your life and I'm collateral damage. There's nothing to fix. We love each other. We can start over. Amber laughed, a harsh sound. Love. You don't even know what that word means. You loved having a wife at home while you played house with me. Now you have nothing and you want me to stay? No. I'm done. She grabbed her suitcase and walked out of the hotel room. Trevor didn't follow her. What was the point? She was right. He had nothing to offer her. Nothing to offer anyone. He sat alone in the hotel room, staring at the phone bill he couldn't pay and the eviction notice from the hotel management saying they needed payment or he needed to leave. His mother had agreed to let him stay with her temporarily, which was humiliating for a 42-year-old man. But it was better than being homeless. Trevor thought about Simone. Tried to picture where she was now. What she was doing. Whether she felt guilty about destroying his life. But he couldn't picture it. He realized he had never really known her. Not really. He knew she was reliable, predictable, boring. The kind of wife who wouldn't make waves. Who would accept his excuse about a boys' trip without questioning it. Turns out she was none of those things. She was smart, strategic, and apparently ruthless when pushed. She had outplayed him completely, and he hadn't even known they were playing a game until he had already lost. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. The guest room is ready. Come whenever. Trevor packed his one suitcase and checked out of the hotel, leaving the bill unpaid. They could send it to collections. Add it to his list of problems. He drove to his childhood home in his SUV, which would probably be repossessed soon since he couldn't make the payments. Every aspect of his life was falling apart, and he had no idea how to stop it. As he pulled into his mother's driveway, Trevor allowed himself one moment of pure hatred for Simone. She had done this. She had destroyed everything out of spite. Out of revenge. It was cruel and vindictive and wrong. But even as he thought it, a small voice in his head whispered the truth. She had only protected herself from his lies. Everything she did was legal. Everything she did was in response to his choices. If he had been honest, if he had asked for a divorce before starting something with Amber, none of this would have happened. He ignored that voice. It was easier to be angry at Simone than to accept his own responsibility. Anger felt cleaner than guilt. Simone stared at her phone for a full minute after Amber hung up. The conversation had been short, awkward, and surreal. Amber apologizing for being the other woman, even though she hadn't known Simone existed. Amber explaining that she left Trevor and wanted to clear the air before moving on with her life. Amber asking if there was anything she could do to make amends. There's nothing, Simone had said. You were lied to just like I was. Trevor is the one who owes us both apologies. He won't apologize. He thinks he's the victim. Of course he does. They had talked for 20 more minutes. Amber shared her side of the story. How Trevor approached her at the bar where she worked. How he told her he was recently separated and looking for a fresh start. How they started dating and he seemed like a good guy who had just gotten out of a bad marriage. How he suggested moving to Thailand together, making it sound like an adventure. I was so stupid, Amber said, her voice thick with tears. I believed every word. I moved across the world for a man I barely knew. That doesn't make you stupid. That makes you trusting. He's a good liar. Do you hate me? Simone considered the question. A month ago maybe she would have. But now, no. I hate what happened. I hate that Trevor hurt both of us. But you didn't know about me. How could I hate you for that? The call ended with Amber thanking her and apologizing again. Simone sat in her apartment afterward, processing the strange turn her life had taken. Her husband's mistress had called to apologize. It was almost funny. But it also confirmed what Simone suspected. Trevor was spinning a narrative where he was the victim. Where Simone had overreacted and destroyed his life out of spite. Where his affair was justified because the marriage was already over in his mind. It was classic cheater logic. Rewrite history to justify your actions. She called Patricia the next morning. Amber contacted me. Trevor's girlfriend? Yes. She wanted to apologize. Also said Trevor is telling everyone I destroyed his life unfairly. Of course he is. Men like him never accept responsibility. How do you want to handle it? I don't. I just wanted you to know in case it becomes relevant to the divorce. It won't. We have documentation. His narrative doesn't matter. But I do have some updates for you. The divorce papers were served yesterday. Trevor signed them without contesting. Really? His lawyer probably told him he had no legal standing to fight. The power of attorney is valid, the house sale was legal, and we have evidence of his affair and financial misconduct. Fighting would just cost him lawyer fees he can't afford. So it's done? Almost. The court needs to review and approve the settlement. Could take a few months. But yes, essentially it's done. You're getting the house sale proceeds, your retirement account, your business assets. He's getting his retirement account and his personal belongings. The dissipation of marital assets claim was accepted, so you're also getting $20,000 from his share as compensation for money he spent on the affair. Simone let that sink in. It was over. The marriage she had invested 8 years in was officially ending. She waited for sadness or regret or grief. Instead, she felt relief. Thank you, Patricia. You're welcome. And for what it's worth, you handled this perfectly. You protected yourself legally while taking the high road emotionally. A lot of people can't do that. After hanging up, Simone sat in her office and looked at her whiteboard. Her goals were nearly met. 7 properties owned and rented. Consulting business with steady clients. Certification program almost complete. In 6 months, she had built more than she built in 8 years of marriage. Her phone rang again. Jerome this time. Hey, I was thinking about grabbing dinner tonight. You free? Actually, yes. I have some good news to share. Oh yeah? What's that? My divorce is finalized. Well, almost. The papers are signed. There was a pause. I didn't know you were married. Simone closed her eyes. She had been avoiding this conversation, letting Jerome think she was just a woman starting a business and living her life. But he deserved to know the truth. I should have told you sooner. Can we talk about it at dinner? Sure. But Simone, it's okay. I figured you had your reasons for not sharing. That evening, Simone told Jerome everything. The affair, the lies, the 6 months of planning her escape while Trevor played house in Thailand. The house sale, the business launch, the strategic dismantling of her old life while building a new one. Jerome listened without interrupting, his face thoughtful. That's a lot, he finally said. You've been through a lot. I have. And I should have told you earlier, but I wasn't ready to talk about it yet. When did all this happen? Trevor came back 3 months ago. But I found out about the affair 6 months ago. So it's been 9 months of chaos. And you started a business, bought properties, helped other women going through divorces, and somehow managed to date me. That's impressive. Or crazy. No, impressive. But I have to ask, are you sure you're ready to be dating? Not that I want to stop seeing you, but I don't want to be a rebound or a distraction from dealing with your marriage ending. Simone appreciated his honesty. I've been dealing with my marriage ending for months now. The divorce is just a formality, and you're not a rebound. You're something good in the middle of something hard. If that makes sense. It does. Okay, then I'm in. For whatever this is. Just promise you'll tell me if it gets too complicated. I promise. They finished dinner and went for a walk along the waterfront. Jerome held her hand, and Simone let herself enjoy the simple pleasure of being with someone who knew her story and still wanted to be there. It wasn't love yet, but it was something. Something real. 2 weeks later, Trevor showed up at Simone's apartment building. She didn't know how he found her address. Maybe he hired his own investigator. Maybe he sweet-talked someone at her old office. Either way, security called her before letting him come up. "Do you want me to remove him?" the security guard asked. "No, I'll come down." Simone rode the elevator to the lobby with her heart pounding. This was the first time she would see Trevor since discovering the affair. She had imagined this moment 100 times. Sometimes she yelled at him. Sometimes she broke down crying. Sometimes she just walked away without a word. When the elevator doors opened, she saw him standing near the front desk. He looked terrible. Thinner, paler, older somehow. His clothes were wrinkled and his hair needed a cut. He looked like a man who had been sleeping badly for months. "Simone," he said, his voice rough. "Trevor." They stood there for a moment just looking at each other. Simone waited for him to speak first. She had nothing to say to him that wasn't already said through her actions and through Patricia. "Can we talk? Please? We can talk here. I'm not letting you come upstairs. This is private. Then talk quietly." Trevor glanced at the security guard, who was pretending not to listen but definitely listening. "Fine. I need to understand why you did this. Why you sold our house without talking to me. Why you emptied our accounts. Why you destroyed everything. I protected myself from a husband who lied to me for months. That's why. I was coming back. I was going to explain everything." "Explain what? That you spent 6 months living with your girlfriend while telling me you were on a boys' trip? That you used our money to fund your affair? That you were planning to divorce me but wanted to wait until you were sure your new relationship would work out?" Trevor flinched. "It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I have screenshots of your Instagram. I have credit card statements. I have the lease for your apartment in Bangkok with both your names on it. Don't insult me by pretending you were doing anything other than exactly what you were doing. Okay, I cheated. I'm sorry. But selling the house, taking all the money? That was extreme." Simone laughed, a sharp sound. "Extreme? You abandoned me for 6 months. You lied to my face every time we talked. You spent thousands of our dollars on another woman. And when I protected myself legally, you think that's extreme. I didn't abandon you. I always planned to come back. To divorce me. You planned to come back to divorce me. That's not better, Trevor. That's worse. At least if you had been honest, I could have started dealing with it months ago. Instead, you kept me in limbo while you played house with Amber. Is that what this is about? Revenge? No. It's about survival. You tried to leave me with nothing while you started a new life. I just made sure that didn't happen." Trevor ran his hands through his hair. "I don't have anything now. No house, no savings, no job. You took everything. I took my half of everything. You still have your retirement account and your personal belongings. You just don't have me anymore, and you don't have the safety net of our marriage while you explore other options. So what am I supposed to do now? Figure it out. The same way I had to figure it out when I discovered my husband was living a double life. I need help, Simone. I need money to get back on my feet. Get it from Amber, or from your parents, or from a bank, but not from me. We're done." Just like that? 8 years and you're just done? You were done 6 months ago when you moved to Thailand with your girlfriend. I'm just catching up. Trevor's face crumpled. For a moment, Simone thought he might cry. Part of her wanted to comfort him, old habits dying hard. But she stayed where she was, cold and unmoved. "I'm sorry," Trevor finally said. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did." "You're right. I didn't. Can we at least be civil? During the divorce proceedings? We are being civil. I'm not fighting you for more than I'm entitled to. I'm just taking what's mine and protecting it. If you want civil, then accept the settlement and move on." "I already did. I signed the papers." "Good. Then we're almost done here." Trevor looked at her for a long moment. "You're different. Harder. I grew up. That's what happens when your world falls apart. You either break or you get stronger. I chose stronger." "I guess you did." He turned toward the door, then stopped. "For what it's worth, I did love you. I don't know. I got confused." "You weren't confused. You were selfish. There's a difference." He left without responding. Simone watched him go, feeling nothing but relief that it was over. The security guard gave her a sympathetic look. "You okay, ma'am?" "I'm perfect," Simone said and meant it. Trevor's mother, Caroline, was not the type of woman who said, "I told you so." She was the type who said it with her eyes while maintaining perfect silence. For 3 weeks, she had been saying it every time she looked at her son sleeping on her couch, unemployed and broke at 42 years old. "There's eggs in the fridge if you want breakfast," she said one morning, setting her coffee cup down with more force than necessary. "Thanks, Mom." "And the classifieds. You might want to look at the job listings." "I am looking." "Looking isn't working. You've been here 3 weeks. You need income." Trevor closed his laptop, where he had been scrolling social media instead of job sites. "I'm trying. It's not easy to find something in my field right now. Then find something not in your field. Retail, food service, I don't care. But you need to contribute. I can't support you indefinitely." It was the closest she had come to actual criticism. Trevor knew she was disappointed in him. His father had died 5 years ago, and before he died, he had told Trevor to take care of his mother and his wife. Trevor had managed to fail at both. He pulled up job sites and started applying to positions he was overqualified for. Assistant manager at a clothing store. Front desk clerk at a hotel. Stockroom associate at a warehouse. The applications asked why he was interested in the position, and Trevor lied fluently. Looking for a fresh start. Passionate about customer service. Eager to join a growing team. None of it was true. He just needed money. His phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but answered anyway. "Mr. Rodriguez? This is Amanda from Valley Credit Union. I'm calling about your vehicle loan. You're 3 months behind on payments." "I know. I'm working on it. We need to arrange a payment plan or we'll be forced to repossess the vehicle." "Can't you give me another month?" "Sir, you've already had 2 extensions. I need payment by the end of this week or we'll send a recovery agent." Trevor hung up and stared at his SUV through the window. It was the last nice thing he owned. Once they took that, he would be completely broke. No car, no house, no savings. Just a middle-aged man living with his mother and working retail. His phone rang again. This time it was Amber. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice harsh. "I'm calling to tell you I'm suing you." "What?" "You owe me money. I loaned you $8,000 over the past 6 months. I kept records. You said you'd pay me back after you sold the house. Well, the house is sold and you have money somewhere. I want mine." "I don't have any money. Simone took it all." "That's your problem, not mine. I'm filing in small claims court next week. You'll be served soon." She hung up. Trevor threw his phone across the room, not caring when it hit the wall and cracked the screen. Amber was suing him. His car was being repossessed. His mother was disappointed. His wife had destroyed his life. Everything was falling apart and there was no way to stop it. That night, Trevor went through his storage unit looking for anything valuable he could sell. His golf clubs brought $200 at a pawn shop. His old gaming system got $50. A watch his father gave him went for $300. It wasn't enough to save the car, but it would cover a few necessities. He drove around the city afterward, looking at the house where he used to live. A different family lived there now. Kids' toys in the yard. A minivan in the driveway. The life he was supposed to have, occupied by strangers. He felt a surge of hatred for Simone so strong it made his chest hurt. Then he drove past her apartment building. He didn't stop, just slowed down enough to see the building. Modern, nice, expensive. She was living well while he struggled. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. His phone, cracked screen and all, buzzed with a text from a number he didn't recognize. "Got your number from a mutual friend. Heard you're looking for work. We're hiring at Mike's Sporting Goods. Retail sales. $12 an hour. Let me know if interested." $12 an hour. Trevor had made $70,000 a year at his old job. But $12 an hour was better than zero. He texted back, "Interested. When can I start?" The next day, Trevor started his new job selling sneakers to teenagers. The manager was younger than him by 15 years. His co-workers were college students working part-time. He stood behind a counter scanning items and making small talk with customers. A bright orange polo shirt that said, "Team Member," stretched across his chest. It was humiliating. Every person who came through recognized someone who used to have a real job, a real life. Now he was selling them running shoes and pretending to be cheerful about it. But it was money. After taxes and accounting for his mother's request for rent, he was netting about $1,500 a month. Barely enough to survive. Not enough to save. Not enough to rebuild. The repossession agent came for his SUV 2 weeks into the retail job. Trevor watched from his mother's kitchen window as they loaded it onto a truck and drove away. His mother stood next to him, silent as always. But he felt her disappointment like a weight. "I'll get another car," he said. "Something cheaper. More affordable." "With what money?" "I'm working now, Trevor." She turned to face him. "What happened to you? You used to be responsible. You had a good job, a good wife, a good life. How did you end up here?" "I made some mistakes." "Some mistakes?" "You abandoned your wife to live with another woman. You lied to everyone. You destroyed your marriage. Those aren't mistakes. Those are choices." It was the most she had said about the situation since he moved in. Trevor wanted to argue, to explain that it was more complicated than that. But she was right. They were choices. Bad ones. The small claims court summons came a week later. Amber was indeed suing him for $8,000 plus court fees. Trevor couldn't afford a lawyer. He would have to represent himself and somehow convince a judge that he didn't owe the money. Except he did owe it. He had borrowed from Amber repeatedly, always promising to pay her back later. She had receipts and text messages proving it. He called Rick, his divorce lawyer, for advice. "What do I do?" "Settle. Offer a payment plan. The judge will probably order one anyway since you can't pay in full." "I can't afford any payments. I make $12 an hour." "Then you're going to have a judgment against you which will tank your credit score even further. My advice? Get a second job." Trevor hung up and pulled up job sites again. He started applying to night positions. Security guard. Overnight stock crew. Delivery driver. Anything that would give him enough income to survive and pay off his debts. 2 months after returning from Thailand, Trevor's life had been reduced to this. Working 2 jobs, living with his mother, dodging phone calls from creditors, and watching his ex-wife build an empire while he scraped by. The fantasy life he thought he was building with Amber had completely crumbled. The security he thought he had with Simone was gone. He had nothing and no one to blame but himself. He thought about calling Simone, apologizing more sincerely, begging for help. But he remembered her face in the lobby. Cold, unmoved, done with him completely. She wasn't going to help. She had moved on. Built something new. Left him behind without a second thought. At night, lying on his mother's couch, Trevor replayed every decision that led here. Downloading that dating app. Messaging Amber. Lying about Thailand. Coming home expecting to have it both ways. If he could go back and change any of it, he would. But he couldn't. He could only move forward, one $12 hour at a time. The divorce was finalized 6 months after he signed the papers. Trevor received a copy of the decree in the mail. It listed the division of assets. Simone received the house sale proceeds, her retirement account, and $20,000 in compensation for dissipation of marital assets. Trevor received his retirement account and his personal belongings. Marriage officially dissolved. He stared at the paper for a long time. 8 years reduced to legal language and asset division. No mention of the good times they had. The trips they took before money got tight. The way she used to laugh at his jokes. The plans they made for the future. Just numbers and terms and signatures. Trevor filed the divorce decree in a drawer and went to work. What else could he do? His life had fallen apart. The woman he cheated with was suing him. The woman he married was thriving without him. And he was alone, working retail, living with his mother, paying for choices he couldn't undo. 6 months after Trevor's return, Simone sat in her new office overlooking the city. The space was small but professional, with glass walls, modern furniture, and her business logo on the door. Phoenix Rising Consulting and Property Management. The name felt fitting. She had risen from the ashes of her marriage to build something real. Her property portfolio had grown to 9 buildings. The newest was a 4-unit complex she purchased at auction and renovated with Jerome's help. He had designed the updates, turning dated apartments into modern living spaces that rented immediately. Working with him had been easy. He understood her vision and didn't try to talk her into expensive upgrades she didn't need. Their relationship had grown too. Slowly, carefully, with neither of them rushing. They had dinner twice a week, sometimes at restaurants, sometimes at her apartment where she cooked and he brought wine. They talked about everything. His childhood in Oregon. Her failed marriage. His dream of starting his own architecture firm. Her plans to expand the consulting business. "You should hire someone," Jerome said one evening, washing dishes while Simone dried. "You're doing everything yourself. Property management, consulting, bookkeeping. That's too much for one person. I can't afford to hire anyone yet. You have 9 properties generating income. You can afford to hire a property manager and an assistant. It would free you up to focus on growth." "Maybe you're right. I'm always right. It's one of my best qualities." She threw the dish towel at him and he caught it laughing. Moments like this felt normal, easy. Like building something real instead of performing a role she thought she was supposed to play. With Trevor, she had always been the understanding wife, the supportive partner, the woman who put his needs first. With Jerome, she was just herself. And that was enough. The consulting business had taken an unexpected turn. One of her clients, a woman named Rachel who left an abusive marriage using Simone's advice, referred 3 friends. Those friends referred more people. Within months, Simone had a waiting list. She raised her rates and hired a part-time assistant to handle scheduling. She also completed her certification program. The exam was difficult, but she passed on the first try. Now she could officially call herself a certified divorce financial analyst, which gave her credibility and allowed her to charge professional rates. Her new clients were willing to pay $200 an hour for her expertise. Some sessions went longer, some shorter, but the hourly rate made the business profitable. Simone started running workshops too. Monthly sessions at a community center where she taught women about financial literacy, asset protection, and planning for life changes. The workshops were free, her way of giving back and also generating leads for her consulting business. Women who attended the workshops often became clients when they needed more personalized help. One evening after a workshop, a young woman approached her. "I don't need consulting yet, but I wanted to say thank you. My sister used your advice when she left her husband last year. You saved her life." "I didn't save her. She saved herself." "Maybe, but you gave her the tools. That matters." It was comments like that which made the work feel meaningful. Simone wasn't just building a business. She was helping women take control of their lives during the worst moments. That was worth more than profit margins. Her phone rang with a call from Patricia. "I have some updates on Trevor." "I don't need updates on Trevor." "I know. But I thought you'd want to know he lost his job and is working retail now. Also, Amber is suing him for $8,000. He's pretty much hit rock bottom." Simone felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sympathy, just indifference. "Okay. That's it? Just okay? What else should I say? He made his choices. Now he's living with the consequences." "Fair enough. The divorce is fully finalized, by the way. You're officially single." "Great. Send me the final paperwork." After hanging up, Simone sat at her desk looking at the city skyline. Officially single. Officially done with that chapter of her life. It felt anticlimactic. No celebration, no grief, just a quiet closing of a door. Jerome picked her up for dinner that night. They went to a new restaurant downtown, sat at a table by the window, ordered wine and appetizers. Halfway through the meal, Jerome set down his fork and looked at her. "I need to tell you something." "Okay. I'm starting my own firm. I gave notice at my job today." Simone felt a rush of pride. "That's amazing. Congratulations." "Thank you. But I'm nervous. It's a big risk." "You'll be great at it. You're talented and people love working with you." "I hope so. I wanted to tell you first because you've been my inspiration. Watching you build your business from nothing in just a few months made me realize I could do the same. We can support each other. 2 entrepreneurs figuring it out together." "Exactly." He reached across the table and took her hand. "I also wanted to tell you that I'm falling for you. Not in a rushed way or a rebound way. Just in a real way. And I wanted you to know." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. Not sad tears, but grateful ones. "I'm falling for you too." They sat there holding hands across the table, and Simone felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not hope that someone would complete her or save her or give her the life she wanted. Hope that she could build that life herself and share it with someone who respected what she was building. The next month, Simone opened her 10th property. It was a triplex in a neighborhood that was just starting to gentrify. She bought it cheap, put $20,000 into renovations with Jerome's design help, and rented all 3 units in 1 week. The monthly income from her properties was now enough to live on comfortably. She gave notice at the retail job she had kept as backup and went full-time into her business. She also hired 2 employees. A property manager named Tanya, one of her first consulting clients who needed work after her divorce, and an assistant named Jennifer who handled scheduling, bookkeeping, and client intake for the consulting business. It felt good to provide jobs for women who needed them. To build something that wasn't just about her success but about creating opportunities for others. On her 6-month business anniversary, Simone threw a small celebration at her office. She invited her employees, her clients who wanted to come, Jerome, her mother, and a few close friends. Someone brought champagne. Someone else brought a cake that said, "Congratulations, Phoenix Rising." Her mother pulled her aside during the party. "I'm proud of you. I know this year was hard, but look at what you built. Thanks, Mom. Your father would be proud too. He always said you were the strongest person he knew. I didn't understand what he meant until now. Simone hugged her mother, holding on longer than usual. The past months had been a blur of motion, of doing and building and surviving. She hadn't stopped to process any of it. But now, standing in her office surrounded by people who cared about her and supported her work, she felt it all. The grief for her failed marriage. The anger at Trevor's betrayal. The pride in what she had accomplished. The hope for what came next. Jerome found her on the balcony later, looking at the city lights. You okay? Yeah. Just thinking. About how different my life is now. 6 months ago, I was watching Trevor pull up to our house with his girlfriend. I was scared and angry and lost. Now I have a business, employees, clients who need me. I have you. I have a future that's mine. You built all that yourself. I know. That's what I'm thinking about. How much strength it took. How scared I was. How worth it all turned out to be. Jerome wrapped his arms around her from behind. They stood there together, watching the city, and Simone felt completely at peace. Trevor had taken a lot from her. Time, trust, years of her life. But he hadn't broken her. Instead, his betrayal had forced her to find strength she didn't know she had. To build a life she never would have built if he had stayed. She wouldn't thank him for that. She would never forgive what he did. But she could acknowledge that his worst act had become her catalyst. Phoenix Rising wasn't just a business name. It was her story. Rising from the ashes of her marriage to become someone stronger, someone better, someone completely her own. 1 year after Trevor's return, Simone stood in front of a crowd of 200 women at a downtown conference center. She wore a navy blue dress, simple but professional, and held a microphone with more confidence than she ever thought possible. The banner behind her read, "Taking Control, a workshop on navigating life transitions." A year ago, she began, I was someone else. I was a wife in a failing marriage I didn't know was failing. I was a woman who put everyone else's needs before my own. I was scared of change and scared of being alone. Today I'm none of those things. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be those things either. The audience listened intently. Some were going through divorces. Some were considering leaving bad relationships. Some were just curious about building financial independence. Simone spoke to all of them, sharing her story without shame or apology. She talked about discovering Trevor's affair. About the strategic planning that followed. About building her business from nothing while processing grief and anger and fear. The revenge I took wasn't dramatic, she said. I didn't slash tires or post his secrets online or any of the things we see in movies. My revenge was simply protecting myself and building something better. Living well became my revenge. And now, living well is just my life. The revenge part doesn't even matter anymore. After her speech, women lined up to ask questions and share their own stories. A young mother asked how to rebuild credit after a divorce. An older woman asked if it was too late to start over at 60. A college student asked how to spot warning signs of financial manipulation early in relationships. Simone answered them all, drawing on her experience and her training. At the end of the event, a reporter from a local business magazine approached. I'd like to interview you for a feature we're doing on female entrepreneurs. Would you be interested? Sure. What's the angle? Women who turned personal tragedy into business success. You're a perfect fit. The interview happened 2 weeks later. The reporter asked about her properties, her consulting business, her plans for expansion. Simone answered honestly, not hiding the painful origins of her success but also not dwelling on them. When the magazine came out a month later, her face was on the cover under the headline, From Betrayal to Business, One Woman's Journey to Independence. As the party wound down, Jerome found her on the balcony again. It had become their spot, the place where they had important conversations. Happy anniversary, he said. Anniversary of what? Of the day you took your life back. Simone leaned against him, looking at the city lights. It's weird to think about. A year ago, I was watching my life fall apart. Now I can't imagine being anywhere else. You've built something amazing. I'm proud of you. We've built something amazing. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to. They stood there together, and Simone thought about everything she had gained in the past year. A business, financial independence, meaningful work, real love, a future that was hers to shape. None of it came from revenge or anger or proving Trevor wrong. It came from protecting herself, believing in her own strength, and building a life that made her happy. Trevor was probably home right now at his mother's house, watching TV or scrolling his phone, wondering where his life went wrong. But Simone wasn't thinking about him. She was thinking about her business goals for next year. About her wedding in the spring. About the foundation she was building to help more women. About the life she had created that was so full of meaning and purpose that her past marriage felt like something that happened to someone else. That was the real revenge, she realized. Not that Trevor had suffered, but that she had succeeded so completely that his suffering was irrelevant. She didn't need him to be miserable for her to be happy. She just needed to be herself, living her life, building her empire, loving her partner, and helping other women find their own strength. The phoenix had risen.